You already know what time it is. It is time to look at the One Piece subreddit to see the wacky ideas, the theories, and just overall memes that the community has in store for us today. So without further ado, let's get right into this. All right, so I picked this one up first. This was like one of the top ones, and I thought it was super goofy, but it made sense, right? We have Gear Second. It has the heart, the nerves, because Luffy pumps his blood. He pumps that adrenaline. Gear Third, he names his attacks, Bone, Fist, and all this other things. Gear Fourth, he has Muscle Fusen, and he has a bunch of abilities where he expands his muscles. You can see the definition, the tone coming out. And then we have Gear Fifth, which, obviously the next thing up past the muscles is skin, and that would be absolutely freaking disgusting. Can you guys even imagine what an attack with his skin would look like? What it would sound like? Oh, Gummo Gummo no, a skin Fusen, like what? Skin balloon, skin fist, skin punch? That's just absolutely gross. Like, wait, are people in the comments like defending this? Brain. Luffy will expand his brain to become one of the smartest persons in the verse, rivaling even Vegapunk. I like this theory a lot. Yeah, that's a big brain theory right there. Giant transformation would be cool, but let's be honest, Luffy is most badass when he fights in his normal size. I agree with that. And I feel like that's why Oda brought COC into the mix. He said, hey, Luffy is strong, Luffy is cool, but hey, we need to keep him in his base form because this is what people like. His wanted poster is him in his base form. But yeah, I mean, I thought Luffy was going to get a Gear Fifth, but after seeing this chart, I kind of hope he doesn't. All right, we're going into this one blind together. Am I the only one who prefers? What is the spoiler? That aside from Kid, Killer, Law, and Beppo, their crews are just fodder. I've seen a lot of complaints about people not liking that Kid and Law's crew is mostly fodder and how it's a wasted opportunity, but I think the opposite. I think their crews were handled perfectly. We have more than enough side characters in the story, plus adding more in Law and Kid's crew just complicates things. I much prefer Kid and Law and Killer getting panel time and focus, and wouldn't like their crew members to take panel time away from them. I agree. I like that Kid does have Killer. I like that Law has Beppo and Jean Bart, even though he is mainly fodder. If they did have more characters, it would just be kind of a nuisance. I mean, like their characters are named, like their crews are actually named for the most part, but we don't really get to see them. They don't get fleshed out, and I think that's a-okay. Imagine the Straw Hat Alliance. If Oda had to sit down and write backstories for all 5,000 of the Straw Hat Alliance, we would die. We would never see the end of One Piece. We would have to preserve our brains in cryosleep just to wake up 1,000 years later when One Piece is finally over. So I agree. I am glad that their crews do not have like crazy backstories. If Kid, Killer, Law, and Beppo do, that is a-okay. Maybe even Heat. Maybe like Heat's just kind of thrown in there, Wires thrown in there, Jean Bart maybe sprinkled in here or there. That is fine. But we do not need 5 chapters to describe their backstory. They're better spent on lore piece. They're better spent in different areas of the story. What's the top comment? Some voice actors in Marineford were memorable and intimidating. They barely got any screen time or focus, but we understood that they were not fodder. You can be non-fodder without much panel time or focus. Even a brief mention or showing that they're holding down loads of other fodder is enough rather than just being invisible. I agree with this. Wholeheartedly. There's a lot of characters like the Ice Witch, we had Squardo, and we had a lot of other characters, Lightning McCree or something. They did work, but guess what? They don't have backstory. They had cool VAs, they had cool designs, and I think they work that way. Same with the Straw Hat Alliance. We don't need to see backstories for everybody of the Straw Hat Alliance, even like the top members. We just need them to show up when they need to. We need them to put in work and look cool while they do it. All right, next up, he's okay, right? Okay, again, we're going in blind. I'm hoping it's not a giant picture of male phallic members, but let's see what we have here. Oh, okay, it's actually a spoiler. All right. But when those kids rise up all over the world, and then it's Big Mom giving her speech about Roger, we see Brook, and we know that the Grim Reaper is in Brook. We see Zoro laying on the ground, blood coming out of him, and then we see him falling off of Onigashima because we know he's on the edge. He's not inside Onigashima. He is on the edge of it, and he is falling off. After watching a couple of other reviews and seeing other people's takes on the situation, I feel like Zoro is a-okay. I mean, obviously he's not doing awesome, but he will not die. Somebody's gonna get him. Marco will get him. Frankie will get him. There's so many people around him that could help him up. Even Sanji, if he wakes up, could technically moonwalk and pick him up. But this is not the end of Zoro. He is definitely down for the count, and I'm really curious to see who that Reaper was. But he is not dead. What is a top comment? Yes, Brook is fine. He could be better if he saw some panties, but I'm sure he'll live. He's in his spirit world talking to his Zanpakuto. Don't worry. People really think this thing is Enma. People really think the Grim Reaper is Enma. And there's a part of me that's okay with that. Like, yes, it could be a manifestation. It's the king of the underworld. It makes sense that it's the Grim Reaper. But at the same time, I almost feel like if he were to see the spirit of Enma, he might have seen the swordsmith that made Enma, or he would have seen Oden because he's the last person that wielded Enma. But yeah, I mean, Grim Reaper, it's still a possibility that it is a sword manifestation, but I am on the camp that it is something worse entirely. All right, so next up, just by reading this title here, I'm pretty sure it is talking about Yamato. Does this mean she's pretty much confirmed to join the crew after Wano? Yes, I'm going out to sea with Luffy, but only after I've driven you out of Wano, Kaido. Okay, it's pretty much focusing on that. I'm not going to read the rest of it. I will answer with yes. I think she is very much confirmed to join the sea with Luffy. I have a feeling that Luffy will turn her down, but no matter what Luffy says, Yamato will join the crew. She'll hop on board. She'll stow away in his ship, because that is exactly what Oden did with Whitebeard. Whitebeard did not want him joining his crew. He did not want this crazy samurai on his crew, but guess what he did? He joined anyways. And I guarantee you that is exactly what is going to happen with Yamato. Whether Luffy likes it or not, Yamato is joining his crew. It's not even his choice. I think the only fair answer is maybe. We've been down this road with other characters before and other people who insisted they 100% knew for sure they were often wrong. People thought Vivi would stay as she had already sailed with them and she was formally invited, but she didn't. People thought Rebecca would join when she was introduced as a strong female gladiator, but she didn't. Need I even mention Carrot? Nobody even thought about Nico Robin would join, but apparently she wanted to live or join. Just to be open to either option and see what happens. She wants to join right now, but Luffy hasn't offered yet. Luffy, see, that's what I'm saying. Luffy doesn't have to offer. She has read Oden's journal. She knows how this goes. Oden joined by forcing his way in. She will do the exact same. Note, I would love to see her join the crew, but I've been on the One Piece voyage long enough to think that I've cracked the code. But yeah, so the thing is with Vivi, Vivi had obligations. She had to become the princess of Alabasta. Rebecca wanted to live a peaceful life with Kairos. Like, they had things that stopped them from joining the crew. Yamato has nothing stopping her. The only thing stopping her is Kaido, and once he is gone, she has nothing holding her back. You could say she wants to protect Momonosuke, but realistically, I would like to think that she wants to carry out Oden's wishes, or his journey, and explore the world and to see everything Oden wrote in the book with her own eyes. That's the most poetic way for me. All right, so next up, we have a pretty interesting conversation here. We have, since Mr. One is kind of a hard counter to Luffy, how much trouble would Luffy have had with him during the Alabasta arc? See, this is a rough one. I had to stop and think about this one for a little bit because every scenario I played out in my head, it did not turn out well for Luffy. I'm going to say right here, Luffy would win, but he would be severely injured. Every punch he throws at Da's bones would end up hurting himself because Daz can turn his entire body into a blade. You hit him with the pistol, boom, cut. You hit him with the bazooka, boom, cut. Without Rio, without COC Haki, Luffy would not do too good against this guy. But like I said, I believe Luffy would win because he would have that endurance, he would knock him out, and he would sustain all that damage and still do damage to Mr. One at the same time, but it just wouldn't look good. If he had to fight Mr. One and he had to fight Crocodile right after this, Luffy would have been dead at Alabasta. I'm going to say right here, if Luffy did not have Zoro to fight Mr. One and he had to take Mr. One and Crocodile on at the same time, or even subsequently, Luffy would lose. He would not win that fight at all. Let's see what the top comment says. It would be a bad matchup for Luffy, but he'd do his usual shtick for bad matchups. He'd coat his fist in something that can safely hit the target and then punch the shit out of it. Probably find something iron to just put between him and Mr. One's body when he punches. And oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. There was a lot of like broken walls in Alabasta. I think even one of the final attacks Zoro did to him was with the wall as well. So yeah, I could see him going behind a building and just bazookaing it, and then it hits Mr. One. But still, it would just be scenario based at that point. He'd probably just grab a rock and bash him with it. Wow, I didn't even think. Wow, so many people just think he's gonna hit him with a rock. Okay. If it was a canon fight, then Oda would find a way for Luffy to win probably, but realistically, Alabasta Luffy, that Luffy has no chance against Das Bones. He didn't even get Gear 2 until Eni's lobby, so no gears at all, no Haki, nothing to protect his body at all. If he somehow wins, he'll be missing 2 limbs minimum. That's what I'm saying. I think Luffy could win by endurance alone, but he would take major damage. Let's read one more. Probably less than what he did with Crocodile. It's his weakness, sure, but he isn't stupid enough to not train against it. How do you train against hitting blades? And with his skirmish with Zoro too, he stopped Zoro's swords and didn't let it cut him. Also, he can't punch Mr. One, just do a Gum Gum pinwheel or Gum Gum catapult, throw him out of Alabasta and be done with it. See, you have to touch him if you do this. Like, if you do a catapult and you sling your body at him, you're just like getting cut all over. Like you're hugging a porcupine. It's not gonna work. This guy just says Luffy dies. He casually got impaled by Crocodile. Now imagine someone who can cut him virtually every part of his body. Can Luffy also unlock armament Haki mid-fight like Zoro did? What? Alabasta Luffy? No. This is a troll. This is a troll. Alabasta Luffy would have lost to Mr. One. The whole purpose of Mr. One's fight was to show Zoro's true value to the crew. He's there when Luffy faces his kryptonite blades. I like this comment a lot. I think Luffy would have won, but I do like what he says on the second part here. To show Zoro's true value to the crew, he's there when Luffy faces his kryptonite. There was, what was it? I forgot what arc it was, but Luffy says something really cool where he's like, I can't do any of the things that my crew does. I can't cook, I can't use swords, I can't navigate, I can't lie. He just goes off on all the things that his crew can do that Luffy cannot do. And that's what makes them Nakama. That's what makes them a unit. That they can do things for each other that they themselves cannot do. So yeah, I agree with that. This definitely showed Zero's true value to the crew. I think he did that way before, but Mr. One kind of solidified it in there. All right, next up, share your most unpopular opinions. Oh god, this is going to be horrible. I'll start. I didn't find Ace's death emotional as a lot of people did. To me, it felt selfish that Ace went back to attack Akainu after all the work Luffy and Whitebeard Pirates did. He should have kept his cool, figuratively and literally. Oh god, I'm gonna get hate for this one. I agree. I have rewatched that death Ace scene multiple times. Once when I was like in fucking, I think it was like middle school or early high school when this happened for me. And I didn't feel all that impacted. I was like, oh no, like not Ace. Oh my god, Ace is dead. But I wasn't emotionally impacted. In my head, I was just like, why? Why did you do this, Ace? We did so much to get to you, and you died like that. He died for the pride of Whitebeard. It's cool, it's symbolic, but if Ace had to die for Whitebeard's pride, I wish it wasn't just like one hit. And Luffy, who was on his A game all through Marineford, all through Impel Down, Amazon Lily, he stumbled, he tripped, and he dropped Ace's Vivre card. He tried to chase it, and he didn't realize Akainu was going in for the kill on him. There's just so many things, like crazy things with that death scene that just threw me for a loop. That I don't think it was that emotionally impactful. What do people say here? What are their unpopular opinions? This sub has lost the spirit of One Piece. Everyone is obsessed with power scaling or standing for their favorite character or looking at titties. I like that. This whole subreddit, like 90% of the posts I've had to like scroll through to get to like these couple few that I want to talk about, they're all about power scaling or, oh, I don't like the way Oda did this. It wasn't that Ace's death was emotional, it was Luffy's reaction. Yes, Luffy's reaction was the main selling point for me, especially afterwards where Jinbei had to stop him from hitting himself in the head with the tree, and when we had the flashback of Ace and Luffy as a kid. If we had that flashback of Ace and Luffy and Sabo before the war, it would hit way harder. If we had more screen time of Ace beforehand, it would hit way harder. And if Ace didn't go back and fight Akainu for no reason, it's not no reason, but if he didn't pick this fight, this really bad matchup for him, it would have been more emotional. Because it does seem like an avoidable death to some extent. All right, what's next? Big Mom was handled well. I like how this is an unpopular opinion. This is controversial. Big Mom was handled well. She's a great character who added a lot to the story. She just isn't the badass that people wanted the Yonko to be. And then what's next after that? I still feel like she is a total badass. The woman is frightening AF. Yes, I do agree. I think Big Mom was handled well, but she could have been handled better. She could have been handled a lot better. The fight could have not been off-screen at all. Somebody mentioned this a while back, that the fight, if it wasn't off-screen like 40%, it would be a really good fight. If we saw these attacks connect, if Law stopped saying one more attack and I'll be done, this fight would have been better. And, obviously if Kid pulled out more attacks too. But yeah, there's a lot of things that could have been better about the fight. A lot of people were complaining that Big Mom didn't have Conqueror's Haki, or, COC Ornament Haki. And I agree. I feel like with how she was fighting, I feel like Oda might as well have given her COC and shown it in that fight against Kid and Law. Because at least then, when they defeated her, we could say, oh, she used everything she had. But since she didn't use COC, since she didn't, possibly use her awakening, then it's like, oh, like it's a good fight, but are we missing some things Big Mom should have had? But I could see how Oda didn't want to give her all these abilities and then have Kid and Law beat her, and then it'll be even more unbelievable that they beat her. Okay, I don't want to do another Big Mom one. Rock's existence is shoehorned in out of nowhere, and the explanation for why no one talked about him is lazy and nonsensical. Guy was supposed to be a big deal before his defeat, needed both Roger and Garp to bring him down, and his crew went on to become individual legends, yet barely anyone knows he existed. I think that's valid, but what hedges it for me is that Oda demonstrated that information control and cover-ups are pretty much central to the way the world government operates. They managed to censor an entire century of history, so covering up one pirate doesn't seem too far-fetched for them. I agree with this. Well, the second part. The government is good at hiding information. If they really wanted to erase the history of a pirate, they could easily do that. It would be hard, but considering that it's been like, freaking 30 plus, I'm assuming 30 plus years, that it would make sense why people would just naturally forget about Rocks in the first place. All the people who knew about him have passed away, and the government is also covering it up. So, you don't have too many favors playing on your side if you're some old guy at a bar saying, hey, back in my day, we had this guy named Rocks and he was a menace. And then people are going to be like, oh, grandpa, there's no wanted poster for Rocks. You're blowing smoke up her ass. So yes, I agree that the government could have just covered it up. And I think that's a pretty valid way to do Rocks' existence. As far as shoehorned in, I don't feel like he's shoehorned in, mainly because every pirate has to have some sort of backstory. Whitebeard has to have a backstory, Big Mom has to have one, Kaido has to have one. So putting them all in the Rocks category works really well. Because you covered, like 3 backstories in one pirate crew? It just works really well that way. Let's look at more. I kind of like this subreddit, actually. The God D Usopp memes are overused and downplays actual achievements throughout the story. Don't put him as the same joke tier as Buggy. He's much more than that. We say this. See, I read this, but at the same time, I feel like Buggy's gonna do something so freaking crazy in the story later on that he might actually just overshadow Usopp. I love Usopp. Pre-time skip Usopp was my favorite. And post-time skip, the most he's done was that God Usopp. And I remember seeing Usopp post time skip. I was like, oh, this guy's gonna be so cool. Like, he has 6-pack abs, he got stronger. He has a new arsenal of abilities using pop greens. And then we haven't really seen him utilize it that much. We've seen him use it fighting fodder, and it works really well against fodder. But fighting actual pirates, fighting top tier fighters like Page 1 and Ulti in the anime, no offense to Usopp, but he literally got clowned, and it was very sad to watch. And I feel like his character could do a lot more than that. He needs more moments to shine, and the pacing of the One Piece manga is a little bit too fast to actually develop and explore everything that is so cool about Usopp. But yeah, Buggy, like I said, Buggy is just actually pretty overpowered, man. Have you seen him in the latest 2 movies? Buggy's a menace. Buggy is actually freaking crazy. He's a warlord, and not to mention the fact that Buggy was part of the Roger crew. He is the brother of Shanks. And even when they were fighting in what is it? The One Piece movie Stampede, when he was fighting Bullet, he didn't really do too much there, right? But he was part of that crew. He was somehow in the same attack as Sabo, Crocodile, Boa Hancock, Luffy, and Smoker. They said, hey, let's throw Buggy in here. Whether it's a joke or not, Buggy, I feel like, is going to be in the central spotlight for the later half of One Piece. For an arc that was built up 8 years and has over 100 chapters, Wano is extremely overrated and just okay. It has the same formula, story beats, tropes, etc. that has been used countless times, and there's really nothing new. It just feels like Oda is playing it safe. I still love the arc to death, but I was expecting Marineford while I was just getting Dressrosa, Enies Lobby 2.0. I still don't think Oda has ever reached the highs of Marineford again. I love Marineford, but I don't think it's a great arc. I think Marineford is a good arc. I don't think it's great. It's a lot of hype. I watch it and I get hyped, but as far as like storytelling and development, I don't think it's that crazy. I think Enies Lobby and Dressrosa are a lot more character development oriented than Marineford. I think Marineford is cool for introducing 1,000 characters that we've never seen before, showing off what these characters can do and showing the alliances and the plot twists that the Marines have against the pirates and vice versa. That was really cool, but what would you expect in a war arc? In a war arc like Marineford, it was very predictable. Dressrosa had a lot of twists and turns. Enies Lobby had a lot of twists and turns and character moments for Nico Robin and the crew. And Usopp especially, like I said, pre-time skip Usopp, pretty badass. Wano, I agree. Wano I wouldn't say extremely overrated, but I feel like it has yet to deliver a lot of the emotional impact. We have the story of the Scabbards, which is pretty hit or miss. We have all the fights, which I think the fights really shine. Kid and Law versus Big Mom, Ulti and Page 1, Kaido, the rooftop. There's so many good fights and feats on Wano. But as far as story goes, I don't think it's the craziest we've seen thus far. And I'm going to get so much hate when I say this. One of my favorite arcs, despite how dragged out it is, if it was consolidated, my favorite arc would actually be Fishman Island. It's one of the most hated arcs out there, but it's one of my favorites. Next up, Big Mom is a better character than Kaido. One Piece has stakes, Wano doesn't. One Piece is not just a goofy pirate manga. I think Kaido's better than Big Mom. But we also have to wait for backstory on Kaido and Big Mom before we can make that judgment. We have a little bit of Big Mom, not so much of Kaido. One Piece has stakes, Wano doesn't. One Piece has stakes. One Piece likes to think it has stakes. Not often do characters die. We have Rocinante, Corazon, which, shout out to him in the last chapter. We have Whitebeard. We have Ace that we talked about earlier. But the stakes of One Piece have always been just kind of like hanging over our heads. Something bad will happen if Luffy doesn't save the day. But 99% of the time, Luffy saves the day. So it's an illusion of stakes that we're seeing. Wano has stakes. I mean, like hell, dude. A lot of people in Wano are starving to death. A lot of the people are kept in labor camps. Wano is a closed-off country that has been oppressed for so many years. They have the Kozukis who were, destroyed out of existence. The Kurozumi are ruling. Wano has stakes. If Luffy doesn't win, Wano has stakes. One Piece is not just a goofy pirate manga. One Piece is a shonen. It's not necessarily goofy, but just because it's not goofy doesn't mean it can't take itself seriously. One Piece is a serious manga that has goofy moments. Hence, all the like Usopp and Chopper and Nami running around acting like they're scared. And then at the end of the day, they're like, oh no, we believe in our captain. Like in the latest couple episodes of One Piece. where they were getting chased around by old team page 1. They got their heads beaten in, and you're like, okay, this is kind of comical. And then at the end of it, Nami sheds a tear and says Luffy will become king of the pirates, solidifying her stance that she is taking this seriously despite the goofy antics they are portraying. So yes, One Piece is serious, but also goofy. I don't give two fucks about Ace dying. Nice. I like that. More people throwing the shade on Ace. No offense to Ace, man. He's such a cool character, but man, I really wish they utilized them better. We should call from the Reverse Mountain to Alabasta Baroque Works Saga and W7 Enies Lobby W7 CP9 Saga. I agree with this. This is like a minor thing, but yeah, I feel like this is true. I don't know who would disagree with that, to be honest. What is this? Oh, what is this? I'm not a fan of the Sanji X Pudding ship, and it has nothing to do with the age. I didn't even know there's an age difference, to be honest. Most One Piece ships, even if I don't think they'll happen or if they're one-sided, I can enjoy them because they're often played off as gags or refun to speculate on. But the moist cigarette scene was played dead serious. Pudding was breaking Sanji's heart at the lowest point of his life. Even after she has had her heel turned, she continues to verbally abuse him. Then there's the kiss scene. It played off as being very romantic, but it's also shown to us from Pudding's point of view. When you look at what actually happened, Pudding asked Sanji for a favor, took a cigarette out of his mouth, kissed him without consent, and then erased the memory of the kiss and ran off. Sanji getting hard eyes or turned on by it is besides the point. I feel bad for Pudding, but for the reasons above, I just can't ship her with Sanji. At one point, it looks like this person is like, oh, poor Sanji for getting a kiss. She did it without his consent. And then it says, yeah, I can't ship her with Sanji. Like, I feel bad for Pudding. How dare she kiss Sanji without his consent? Oh, what a poor woman. All right, see, this is just a weird opinion. See, what happens at the end of One Piece happens, right? Whether Sanji ends up with Pudding, whether Zoro ends up with Hiyori, like, it's probably gonna happen. This is the most relationship-wise Sanji's ever gotten with anybody. And I actually think this was a decent romance. Like, you know, like hate me or whatever, but I think Pudding was actually fine for Sanji. And for Pudding breaking Sanji's heart, I feel like that's the point of a relationship, because you kind of get over things. He forgives her and vice versa. Like, that's just how it happens. That's how relationships work. Not everything has to be super like, oh, we're both in love, you know. It doesn't have to be like that one filler arc of One Piece where they had that couple that was super in love. I forget who are they? One Piece it's the guy with the heat fruit. Heat arc. I don't know what to type in. The Netsu no Mi. Okay. Oh, not this guy. Atsu no Mi. This dude. God, it's so freaking bright, dude. Current user Don Achino, the Achino family. These two. It was Arbel and Salcho. Is that even... what the fuck? I don't even remember these dudes. Yeah. Not every love relationship on One Piece has to be like these guys. They don't have to be madly head over heels for each other and do everything right. Like, it's more than just a one-sided relationship. Okay. I'd be fine if Ace lived, if that means Sabo stayed dead. Sabo is by far the worst plot piece in this story. Of course, this is my opinion, but why is he there? Why has he never read a newspaper? Well, who reads a newspaper every day? I'm just gonna say it. Who reads the newspaper every day to see Luffy popping up? Like, it just isn't realistic to make that an argument. So I'm gonna omit this last part. But as far as Sabo staying dead if Ace lives, I can follow suit with that. But like I said, I feel like the Ace, Sabo, and Luffy side story should have happened a lot earlier. We should have had the side story of Ace and Sabo around the same time Luffy beat Crocodile. That's my opinion. I feel like the sooner they did this flashback with Ace and Sabo, the more impactful Ace and Sabo would have been if they were revealed to die or live. I'm not sure if this is an unpopular opinion, but Law should have beaten Dofie and not Luffy. This is something I've heard a couple times, especially with the latest chapter being out. So, since Law defeated Big Mom, his defeat by Dofie seems a little bit ridiculous, considering it was maybe 2 months ago. Like, it was not that long ago that Law lost to Doflamingo. And then, you know, like not too long afterwards, he beats Big Mom with Kid. It's kind of a crazy jump. If Losh even showed a hint of his awakening during Dofie's fight, then people would have believed the Big Mom fight more. But he did put up a decent fight against Dofie, but Dofie didn't really even try hard to beat Law. It was really Luffy that was throwing a wrench in his plan on beating Law earlier. But yeah. I don't like Sanji. Whoa, the Sanji slander. Bro, man, Sanji's my favorite character. I'm not going to read this. Just kidding. I get that his whole thing with woman is well written, but it doesn't make me any less uncomfortable. I think he's at his best when he's helping his crew or when his role as a cook comes into play. Every time his relationship with women comes in, I feel incredibly uncomfortable, and so I can't help but dislike the guy. All right, I love Sanji, and I am going to partially agree with this. Whenever Sanji does have like the hard eyes for women, he starts nosebleeding. It's funny the first 500 times. But now when we see it like nowadays, like in Wano, in Fishman Island, in Dressrosa, it's kind of like, oh, like, it's whatever, dude, come on. Like, you've seen 1,000 women. You've seen some real beauties, bro. And you're still doing this? I thought the Sanji hard eyes was at its worst in Fishman Island when it was an actual plot point. When they had to get a blood transfusion for Sanji, that's when I was just like, okay, Oda's taking this way too far. I think if Sanji does the hard eyes maybe once an arc, it's fine. But multiple times in an arc, it's like a no-no. And I do get the part with it being uncomfortable. Back when I used to watch One Piece at the very beginning of my life, it was with my dad. I watched it with my dad. This is how me and my dad bonded. We watched a lot of One Piece together. So I have really fond memories of One Piece. And whenever Sanji or any character would do like an overwhelming gag, like sometimes I'd like kind of hide my face in embarrassment, but my dad's Asian. He knows what's up. So he was cool with it. But it doesn't make it any less uncomfortable. All right. People need to stop hyping up Boa Hancock and Pudding. Oh, okay. Off to a bad start already. People really want Hancock to be an Admiral or Yonko level, but she's much lower. She can fight, but she can't defend herself against an Admiral or Yonko. I prefer Sandersoni or Marigold over Hancock. All right. They're tripping with this last line here. They're straight freaking tripping. As for Pudding, I don't see the hype around her either. Yeah, she had a change of heart because Sanji didn't find her eye disgusting, but she doesn't do it for me. The hype around Pudding is mainly that it's the first woman that Sanji likes and the first woman that actually likes Sanji. The kiss scene, you know, despite the consent part, it was really romantic. I think it was freaking sweet. It was like watching The Notebook or something, man. The third eye, disgusting. I mean, the real purpose of the third eye is to probably read the poneglyphs. The third eye has an awakening that we have not seen yet. So the third eye is really just a main plot point. I feel like that's why people hype up Pudding a lot. And Boa Hancock, she's strong. The fact that they said I prefer Sandersoni Marigold is kind of cap, dude. It's a little bit cap right there. Let's see, Oda on Boa Hancock. Oh god, I had to look it up. So now the screen's like super bright. But yes, Boa Hancock has all three forms of Haki. I just had to make sure before I threw out some slander. But Boa Hancock has all three forms of Haki. There's a good chance she has COC. We just haven't seen it yet. And honestly, I don't get the Boa Hancock slander. I think she's hype. I think Oda has not shown her fight someone for reals for a good reason. I guarantee you there's a reason why during the movie of, 3D2Y, when Luffy went to go fight Brundy World, I guarantee you that Boa Hancock could have wiped the floor with Brundy World. And there's a reason why Luffy said, hey, Boa, let me handle him. You go somewhere else. I'm telling you, Boa Hancock is strong. Literally, during the movie Stampede, when Luffy was fighting Bullet, she was one of the characters that were up there with Sabo, Smoker, and Crocodile, and CP9 Rob Lucci. Yes, that doesn't mean she's on the same level as them. It doesn't mean that she's stronger than them necessarily. But she's seen as being on that level by Oda. I think Caribou's a cool character. I like him. Kid is a goddamn beast and my favorite character. And then Law X Robin. Law X Robin all the way. Kid is a goddamn beast and he's one of my favorite characters. He's in my top 10. Caribou is not a cool character. I like him. I don't think he's a cool character. I'd feel embarrassed to say that I like Caribou in a public space. Hockey sucked so much the fun out of the series. Advanced hockey forms, to be precise. Fun devil fruits on devil fruit fights feel to me like they're becoming increasingly rare. And even when they happen, the integration of hockey often makes or breaks them. For example, I can't believe how inventive, fun, and creative the fight between Big Mom and Law Kid was, but it's blemished by the absence of COC. Wait, what? Isn't this person... Wait, what? Hockey sucks so much out of the fun of the series, and advanced hockey to be precise. The fight was fun and creative, but it's blemished by the absence of COC. This guy literally just said, hockey sucks so much fun out of the series, and then his complaint with the fight is, dang, it blemished it by the absence of hockey. This guy's blowing my mind. I had to reread that for a minute. I was lost in confusion. Okay, let's keep on. Maybe he explains himself. It feels like Big Mom was holding back now. Okay. Even when in story, it wouldn't make sense for her to do so, you essentially have to make an excuse for characters that don't have it or choose not to use it. And that's kind of a weird take, but I agree. It does feel like Big Mom did not use everything because there's a good chance she does have COC. Like confirmed, like she has COC. There's no way she doesn't. But she didn't use it against Killer Law. So it is weird. But I think that hockey is great for the series because you know how much it would suck if you lose fights just because somebody has a better devil fruit than you? That happened with Enel versus Luffy. But if we flip the script, if Luffy was Enel and Enel was Luffy, Luffy would get slapped and it wouldn't even be fair. Just because Enel or Luffy has a better devil fruit doesn't mean they should 100% automatically win. It should be because of hockey, because their willpower is stronger, because they trained. And yes, like, you know, inventive and fun. Oh, like Luffy fought Crocodile, he put water on his hand and boom, he can start hitting Crocodile. He has blood on his hands and boom, it works with Crocodile. It would not work with anybody else. Like, how would you counter Akainu, for example? Ooh, fun and creative, we're gonna throw water at him. Like, it wouldn't really work. And he would just be way more overpowered than he actually is right now. Most of the fandom can't enjoy anything and forget this is about adventure, not fighting. Yes. This, I've realized by doing YouTube, by looking at this subreddit, that it is nothing but infighting. That's why sometimes in my videos, I'll get like ridiculous comments and I read every comment. But I've learned to not argue with dumb comments. Like, it's not worth it. Some people just hit us with the most ridiculous comments, and I just choose not to respond to it. I've responded to a couple of them when I first started YouTube, but let me tell you, if their first comment was dumb, their second one is going to be even dumber. That's life advice. That is life advice. Do not get into internet arguments. They are never worth it. One Piece is great, but it's still mainly for kids. A lot of people take it so seriously, especially the power scaling. I agree. I wouldn't say it's like for kids. I think it's more for like teenagers. You know, when I think of kids, I think of like, you know, people in elementary school, you know, some kid that just came out of his mom's womb. But yeah, it's not for kids. It's more for teens, and that's what shonen is in general. Boa Hancock is a boring character, and there's no chemistry between Luffy and her. She looks like his sister. In short, Boa and Luffy x Boa sucks. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a one-sided relationship. Luffy already stated he does not care about relationships. He's never thought about it. But I mean, that's the whole point of Boa's character. I don't think she's necessarily boring. I just feel like she doesn't have enough screen time. A lot of characters just don't have the screen time to progress their characters to where we would like them. Like, a good example is Kid, Big Mom, Law. The reason why people slander Kid so much is because we don't have his backstory. Law, we do. We know where he grew up. We knew what he had to go through. We spent a couple of arcs with him. We spent filler with the guy. Kid, on the other hand, had none of that. We don't even know why Kid is like wanting to become a pirate in the first place. And yeah, I think that's the main point. We just don't have enough time with them. Let's see here. Sabo is a stupid cop-out and just an excuse to have Ace 2.0. Hell, he even gets his power to be extra uncreative. I wouldn't say that. I'm not going to talk to that one. we kind of mentioned it earlier, so I don't want to revisit Sabo again. Fisherman Island, A to S tier arc. Oh, somebody agrees. Oh my god, somebody agrees. I used to not like it as much when it's coming out. That's what I said. That's what I said. If it was condensed, if they just cut out, like if you read it all in one sitting, it's actually a good arc. It aged pretty well and had some great things about it. It had some really good things about it. It was even lore piece. It gave us a lot of lore. Like you have to remember that. I hope Yamato doesn't join. I honestly don't like the addition of Jinbei, besides the fact that he's the helmsman. That's a hard one. I hope Yamato joins, so I'm gonna disagree with that first part. But the addition of Jinbei and the addition of Yamato, I'm gonna put them together. The reason why I could see some red flags with the addition of both of them is mainly because they're very strong. Adding Yamato, adding Jinbei, it throws the monster trio off of balance, because where do they fit? Would it become the Monster 5? Like how would you explain this as far as crew dynamic goes? I think they'd fit in really well. I think they're amazing additions to have to the crew. But I guess once you add them, what I'm trying to say is that what challenge would you have for Luffy and Zoro and Sanji? Because Jinbei's a monster. Yamato's a monster. When you add them in, what does that leave for Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji? Who will they fight that Jinbei and Yamato can't beat? I think that's the main thing, the main concern I have with adding them to the crew. But obviously, it's such a non-issue. And if you really think about One Piece, the villains we're going to fight always scale up. The villains of Elbaf, or whoever we fight next, will be stronger than the villains of Wano. When we fight Blackbeard, there's a good chance he might even be stronger than Kaido, and that's just how it works. Luffy beats Kaido, and then he has to beat somebody stronger than Kaido. Or, like, you know, somebody who's strong as Kaido, but one-on-one. Not as unpopular as it used to be, but Wano is one of the worst arcs in One Piece. It's bloated, stretched no ends, and becomes uncanny with each dragging chapter. The Scabbards took too much time, or too much of the plot for their own sake, and the Beast Pirates were never taken seriously or posed any threat. Big Mom overstayed her welcome. Never before have we seen much absurd plot devices and ass pulls in this arc. Olin, Otama, taming enemies, Queen sabotaging the Beast Pirates, Mink medicine, and so on and so forth. Unreasonable fake deaths of several characters: Orochi, Kanjuro, Kinemon, Kiku, Luffy. I would also throw in Ashura Doji here. I don't think Luffy had a fake out death though, and at least not in Wano. Nonsense, build up and hype. Yamato has been one of the most pointless characters entirely in the entirety of One Piece. King's heritage might just be forgotten at this point. Law is spamming. Okay. This is the one I agree on. Law spamming his last attack. I think that's such a good meme. I mean, I almost want to see what the anime does with this, right? Like, I feel like they're gonna have to like drag it out a little bit. Like every 2 weeks, Law's gonna say, "This is my last attack." Also, Law gaining random ability from nowhere. Just saying the Ope Ope no Mi gives nigh omnipotence at this point, so it will be believable once he starts warping reality and transforming people into stones. Despite that Wano was longer than entire Alabasta Saga, it has barely moved the plot forward. Flashback teasers and ultimately Kaido's defeat, and another island the Straw Hats freed from oppression. Cool, so is this it? 150 plus chapters for basically nothing. At least I hope in the end Zoro's past will be revealed for good. That's the one saving grace for the arc. The hope that Zoro gets his past revealed. Forget everything else. Forget the Scabbards. Forget Kaido. Forget the Yonko. Forget Oden and his journal and Zunisha coming in. The history of the poneglyphs and the history of Wano being sealed off. All the mystery behind it. F all of that. What we need is Zoro's past. Then One Piece will be a good series again. That's a good one. I like that take. Enies Lobby is horribly overrated. It's all Wano's problems, but worse. And Boa sucks. Damn, those are some hot takes. That's an unpopular opinion. Enies Lobby is amazing. It is. I think Enies Lobby is like the arc that solidified One Piece for me. Beforehand, like I said, I was watching it with my dad as like a bonding activity. But once we hit Enies Lobby, I was stuck to it, dude. I was stuck to it like shit to a blanket. I don't know, man. Like, Enies Lobby was so cool. It had the one-on-one fights, which I love. I love the one-on-one fights, especially when everybody gets it. And Enies Lobby had that. It had Lucci, and it has that amazing fight between him and Luffy just surpassing all of his limits. It had Usopp fighting for the Going Merry. It was such a good arc. And then Usopp begging to come back. Like I said, pre-time skip Usopp, pretty cool. Let's see here. Yamato needs more of a character arc, accepting even Odin wasn't perfect before I liked her. This is all kind of goes back to what I was saying, that Yamato just needs screen time. Characters need screen time to be liked. It's hard to like somebody that is only there for a couple panels. But yeah, I think that's where we're gonna end this one. I think I had one more. Crocodile's awakening. Oh god, this is a guess. I could see. This is a guy guessing what his awakening is gonna be like. Let's see what it says. Back in Alabasta arc, Crocodile is shown changing his surroundings to sand when fighting with Luffy, and Cobra says, "You will die with the falling sacred temple." He replies, "I can change things to sand and evade death." Not exact dialogues. So yeah, he quotes this, but it isn't really what he says. He's paraphrasing. Crocodile even said that doing so wasted his energy so much in front of the royal council palace, similar to what Kid and Lyle exclaim now that their awakening uses a lot of energy. Did Oda show awakening back then? I'm going to take a guess and say no. It might have been accidental foreshadowing, but you have to remember, back in Alabasta was supposed to be the final arc of One Piece. Oda didn't know if he'd get renewed for further manga subscriptions with Shonen Jump. But after Alabasta, there was such a hype around One Piece that it kept going. And it was only after post-time skip did we even learn about awakenings in the first place. It was shown in Punk Hazard. So I'm going to say that he did not know that awakenings existed yet. So this might have been entirely coincidental if Crocodile actually said all this. And same with Hockey. Hockey wasn't even really shown until we got to Skypiea. That was the first nip of awakening and Hockeys that we have gotten. But yeah. Pretty much it. Thank you guys for showing up. Let's go back to the main camera. Thank you guys for showing up to the very first edition of the One Piece subreddit browsing extravaganza. Hopefully I can do this about once or twice a week, depending on how many guys like this. So please drop a like below and let me know that you actually enjoy this type of video, and I'll make more. Other than that, please feel free to subscribe. It really does mean the world. Same as with the likes. Like I said, comments below just help the algorithm for me. I also have a Discord server. We don't really talk about anime at all. We just kind of mess around in there. So join it if you want to. Link is in the description and the pinned comment below. I also have a Twitch where I stream maybe once a week on. So anything helps. Please drop a follow. It means a lot. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for coming in.